Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Built Environment Marketing Show, hosted by me, Ayo Abbas from Abbas Marketing. I am a strategic marketing consultant and speaker and trainer, and I adore working with built environment firms who really want to make an impact and I guess compete in a much smarter way. Today, I had an idea actually when I was at UK Reef and actually when I just got back. And I wanted to draw on some of the kind of conversations and experiences I've had talking with various people who I know about marketing when it doesn't go quite to plan. It's not something that we talk about that often, but I actually think we learn a lot from failure or things that make you think on your feet. So this episode is going to be talking about that. So I'm a firm believer that no matter how much you plan, there's always something that can go astray, right? Something can go astray. And we spend so much time and energy talking about plans and campaigns and what we're going to do and how it's going to work out. But actually, when it comes to implementation and you start putting stuff in action, there's so much stuff that can go sideways. So I wanted to kind of, share a kind of look at kind of what you can actually do when things don't quite go to plan. So today, I'm going to share about an idea that I took to UK Reef, which was anytime I go to a conference and I'm spending a sizable chunk of time there, I always think about how can I promote myself, my work and what I do. And I always try and come up with some kind of idea. Last year I did a listen, loved, learned and lost like little mini videos. And this year I was like, what am I going to do? So anyway, I literally had a light bulb moment just before UK Reef last month. And my idea was actually a lot of the content you see is kind of cliché. You know, we're world class, we're innovative, we're all of this stuff. And I'm always like, we always see the same stuff. We're award winning. It's like, so what, who, how, who gave the award? Was it your mum? So what I wanted to do was find out a way that I could kind of stand out. And I thought, I've been talking a lot about, cliches and all the stuff we see in the industry. So I had a light bulb moment just before the Saturday before UK Reef, content cliche bingo. So anyway, obviously when I have an idea, I can generally execute it quite quickly. So I decided to build a plan, build a card, use Claude, use Canva, come up with some phrases, and design a kind of little kind of card that I could hand out in person when I was at UK Reef. All good, all great. And yes, I do stuff last minute, but it was a really good idea. So I thought, all right, let's implement it really quickly. So I used Canva, created it on that Saturday morning, got it all kind of in a place. I was really happy. And I thought, right, I looked at printers, found someone who could print it on the Monday when I was on the train on the way up to Leeds. And yeah, it was all good, all great. Anyway, of course, my idea didn't stop there. Next morning, I thought, I wonder, can I actually do this as a kind of interactive bingo card that I could have on my phone? Because all the content had been done for the print version, I thought, actually, I could also do an interactive version I'm slightly in love with Lovable. You can do lots of kind of interactive games, apps, all that kind of stuff, all by using kind of normal, general kind of prompting. So it's an AI tool. I absolutely love it. So anyway, I thought, I could do that. So Sunday morning, I decided to go on Lovable, started to kind of build my online version of the content cliche bingo card, could brand it in my colours, could add extra elements like, you click on my LinkedIn link, you can add a competition whereby people can take pictures of what they're seeing and add it and email me. So I built in all these kind of amazing interactive elements that you just couldn't do in a print card. So it worked really well, loved it, shared it with some of my marketing friends, and everyone was like, this is absolutely amazing. And what was nice was that you could also use like WhatsApp to share it with people, and all that kind of stuff. So it could basically create our own viral moment quite easily. So anyway, Monday I headed up to Leeds and I swung by the printers, picked up my lovely print version. Absolutely great, no problems. And then we got to Tuesday, which was the first day of UK Reef, and anyone who went along, they had some serious Wi-Fi connectivity issues on that first day, which actually meant that most of their own systems didn't work. It wasn't just us as attendees. It was actually their systems as well. So they couldn't log people in. People couldn't see their apps. They couldn't see where they had meetings. So it was like tons and tons of stuff that just wasn't working. And it just meant that I couldn't share my bingo card, which was such a shame because it was such a good idea. And it just kind of had me that feeling of, when I was outside the venue and in the evenings, I was showing it to people and people loved it and were sharing it with other people. But the thing is actually in the event itself, because the Wi-Fi wasn't working, it couldn't go to plan. And I think when you have an idea, so on that Saturday and Sunday when I was building it, my idea was actually the interactive one would probably be the one that would really fly. But then there's not much you can do. You can't control what happens. There are things that happen in life and in the world, and no matter how good a plan is or an idea is, you've always got to kind of think on a hoof and I guess look for the bright side. I did kind of share the app with other people in the evenings at events, and people really did like it. And I did have some people come up to me and talk about it, which was great. But I guess it didn't get the traction that I would have liked. But then I guess that was outside my control. So I think, yeah, and then now I'm thinking about it. It's like, well, I could do a podcast episode talking about it. I can, write a blog. And I think there's different ways. So it wasn't necessarily the idea and the execution that I wanted. But there's a lot of stuff I can still do with it. The concept and the idea are really sound, so I can adapt the theme and use it for other stuff. So I think even though it didn't go to plan, but it's not a wasted idea. It's not a wasted effort because there's lots of ways I can now take it forward, apply it to different things. I might do a sustainability card, greenwashing card, and other things I can do with it. So I think, nothing's ever wasted and you can learn a lot from stuff. So when it doesn't quite go to plan, there's still stuff you can do. Which actually made me think about where else have I experienced something that didn't go to plan? And it was quite a long time ago now, but when I was working in-house for a large consultancy firm, I was working on a bid response document, and it was a bid where I think we helped to actually write the PQQ, and we were the incumbent. The client loved us. So basically, we were in pole position to win this thing. But I think sometimes that can also make you a bit complacent. And the director I was working with, I just remember kept tinkering away, little amends, all that kind of stuff on the last day. And I'm going to keep saying on the last day because that's the most important part. So we kept refining. So it was nothing that would make a big difference. The grunt work was completely done. It was ready to go the night before, but tinkering away still a bit. And I guess we left it to the last minute to actually submit it. And it had to be submitted in person in London. So we booked a courier to get the physical document to the client's office in time. And actually, this was at a time when it wasn't just digital submissions. It was like you had to give them the printed copies in their hand. They had to have it, sign for it. And actually, the courier picked up the documents on time, did all the stuff. But there was an unforeseen incident. The courier was actually involved in an accident. Don't worry, they were absolutely fine. But it did mean that the bid never actually arrived. And because it didn't arrive at the client's office, it meant we were disqualified. That contract was gone. And the reason actually had nothing to do with the quality of our proposal. It was purely about, I guess, an incident we hadn't foreseen. But it was also about us leaving it to the very, very last minute. And I think for us, it was like something that you could really learn from. And I think we were actually ready to go the night before, really, and we were just tinkering around the edges. And I think sometimes if you have time, you might think, oh, maybe I'll just change this and just change that. But sometimes it's actually more important to get the thing out of the door so that you actually had more time and more leeway and gave yourself more room for in case something occurred. We had given ourselves no margin of error. And I think that was kind of one of the big learnings for me was doing submissions after that. It was always like, actually, what can we submit before the deadline, even a couple of days before, and start the upload process? And I know, especially now in this digital world, when you have like award submissions and things, I think it's always not leaving it to the last minute because those platforms fall over. You might have something wrong with your computer, something else happens, and you're suddenly like, oh, that panic. And I think, especially when it's like, bids have to be in on time. If they're not in on time, you're out of the race. And I think that whole thing of like chipping away at something, great. but actually giving yourself some time. So like, let's see what we can upload early. Let's, try and beat this. Let's not leave it to the last minute. And I think for those types of things, that was a massive learning for me. That's for sure. I think the thread through this is around, marketing doesn't always go to plan. Wi-Fi fails, couriers have accidents, portals fall over at the worst possible moment. And sometimes your best idea lands in a completely different way to how you imagined. And that's absolutely fine. But I guess for me, what I've noticed over the past kind of 25 years and what I see the best marketers doing is that we are problem solvers at heart. And when something doesn't work, we don't just stop and go, oh no. We've got to kind of sit there and look, what else can we do? How else can we use this? How can we still maximize this? How can we still get something out of this? And I guess that's a kind of grit and determination, which is something that I always find admirable in marketers. We're flexible, we're adaptable, and we have to just keep going. And I guess as well, I remember once I did a talk about kind of the constraints in marketing and how that actually fuels creativity. And I do think that kind of constraints and that kind of when things are a lot tighter and there's lots more rules, it's like actually that's when some of the best creative and the best ideas comes to mind. I mean, this podcast episode would never have happened if actually that UK Reef Wi-Fi had worked, because I'd have been like, oh, that's fine. I'd be pushing out content on that right now. So I think, creativity can find different ways of pushing through barriers. And that's something that we've all got to kind of learn and be open to as well, And then it kind of means like you can do more with less, and you can have the best ideas when you've got less time, you've got less budget, you've got less resource. And they're still there and they still thrive and they still work. So I think giving yourself time to think, giving yourself time to have ideas, because something will always go wrong. And sometimes you just got to be open and go, that wasn't my plan. But you know what? Here we go. This is my new plan and off we go. So yeah, that is the conclusion for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I'd love to hear more about when things haven't quite gone to plan for you. Feel free to reach out to me on email, which is ayo@abbasmarketing.com, or even just comment in the kind of LinkedIn post that I'll be putting out about this episode. Would love to hear. Thanks so much for listening to the Built Environment Marketing Show. If you've liked what you've heard, please do share it with others on social media, as it helps me to spread the word. Thanks so much.